Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I haven't uploaded for a couple of weeks. No real reason, just letting the trees grow and all that. But anyway, I thought I'd do a quick video, one of those big collection update videos, because I don't feel like I've done one for a while. And obviously all the trees, as you can see, are all just starting to pop out into colour. So anyway, I've spent the last couple of weeks, month even, doing quite a bit of gardening, getting the bonsais ready. I built a few new monkey stands that I'll show in a minute. But yeah, so I just wanted to go over what is currently on the bench and just show the stages they're at, really. So obviously most of the trees you'll remember if you've been on the channel a while. This here is the cherry that I repotted a couple of videos back into this Dan Burton pot. Coming out really nicely, actually. Obviously it's done with flowering now and it started the leaves, and this is why I cut it back so hard, because this stuff here is a lot easier, a lot easier to wire. So once that hardens off a bit, obviously it's really thin growth at the moment. If I try wiring now, it will just break into it, but that will eventually harden off and we can wire that and start to add a few more branch structure to the tree. So obviously next to it we've got the burning bush. This one, I absolutely adore this tree. I really like this tree. Really nice little pot. Next year definitely need to repot this. I think I was going to do it this year, but I completely forgot. But this tree has come out really well. And obviously behind it we got the cotoneaster. I went through this cotoneaster, it was probably a couple of weeks ago now, and gave it a really good prune, and freed up and took out a load of dead bits and branches, so we've got a much better branch structure in the center there. Obviously next to it is the larch. This is done really well already this year compared to what it did last year. Last year when I had this tree, it came out with leaf, but it didn't grow much. I don't really know why that was. It was fed and everything like that. It was looked after, it was watered. I'm not really sure. But this year already, look at the growth here. So I don't know if you can see this whole bit here is new growth. This whole bit up here is new growth, absolute tons of it. So this will need a prune at some point. But I adore larches. They're really nice to touch at this time of year. There's such soft foliage. So anyway, let's move on to the next ones down here. So obviously this one here is my cork bark elm, as you will have seen many a time in this channel. And as you can see, the cutbacks are really working out. If you see back in here, you can see all the buds on this branch, on these branches that will soon become out actual branches, and we will get much better ramification in this tree in time. Next up, the potentilla. This one had a really hard cutback this year, also a repot. If you saw I don't think I did a video on this, but I did do a community tab. I found a load of really cool nabari with this tree, which I'm really pleased about. It's kind of up here in its old pot. I had a bit of bad luck with this tree last year, because I had at one point it got completely sunburned. I more or less lost all the foliage. Luckily it's quite a hardy tree, so it did come back. Obviously with pontentillas you do need to cut them back quite hard every year, otherwise it just gets really leggy, and you don't get much ramification. But you can see with this one, it's already coming out in its really nice white flowers, which is absolutely amazing. Down here we've got the Chinese elm. Many videos this one's been in. It's absolutely good, this tree. It's coming out now in its small nice leaves. Apart from that, not much has really happened. Obviously I do a yearly cutback with these trees and that really helps. On to the next one, we've got my mountain maple, and this one has exploded. Absolutely exploded. Now I do on some minchels, Jesus, that's a combination of words there. On some maples I do pinch to try and create a bit more back budding and waking up those back buds, but this one I've left completely to do what it wants. And you can see the thickness. Now this did have a massive cutback as well last year, because when I bought it from Mini Tree Bonsai, Shoka Bonsai, it had a lot of branches, but I need to improve the branch structure of this and the shape. But for now, this is just going to be let to grow until it all hardens off, and then we'll go in and give it a good prune at the end of spring, early summer probably. Obviously onto the next is the beech tree. Not much is happening with this tree at the moment. It's obviously still alive. Beech normally come out quite late at their buds, so I will expect to see this one coming out at some point in the next month or so. But that one's really coming on nicely. We obviously wired some branches the other year. Got lots of new buds now. You can see here we've got buds along the back end of these branches where it's back budded. So this is going to really be useful when creating these extra branches coming out. Oh god, actually needs all this crouching down. Need to build a bigger bench. On to the next one is the, let's move these trees out of the way so we can see it a bit better, is the Korean hornbeam. This is actually my favourite time of year for Korean hornbeam, other than autumn, is when these leaves are this size. If they could stay this size all year round, it would be absolutely lovely. Obviously Korean hornbeam already have a much smaller leaf size than normal hornbeam. That's why they're a lot of the time preferred for bonsais. But if they could stay this size, that would be absolutely amazing. Obviously I haven't done much with this tree over winter. I didn't really give it a massive prune. I just want to let it grow. It's definitely an odd one. The trunk is absolutely lovely, really cool trunk. And then the top bit, I'm not looking for separate branch structures. I just want to create this nice bushy size. This one's here because I wouldn't mind wiring this branch out just to bring the shape down out to this side a little bit, and then fill up this gap here. But that's all for the future. If you were following my community tabs, this was my oak tree that a friend at work gave it to me in a bucket, and the soil level was up to about here. So I saw this part, and then as I took it out, you've got these massive roots, and then a load of fine roots. He also planted it with a piece of, I don't know, pot or something to stop the roots from going down, to stop that taproot. So it had lots of fibrous roots, which was amazing. Now the last more nearer finished, well not finished, but more bonsai tree is obviously my azalea. This one actually had a really not so great year last year. It had a great flowering part of the year. It had great growth at the beginning of the year, but it got burnt, I think, by the frost over winter. It was in the greenhouse, but I think it got a bit of the frost and it did kill off. I know obviously azaleas do tend to drop their old leaves and get new leaves. That's why you can see we've got all these leaves forming here, which is great. It's getting a bit leggy. It needs a bit of branch selection. It needs a bit more pad creation. The top needs cutting back, and then these branches need cutting back a little bit just to add in some back budding and maybe a bit of wiring. I won't be doing any of that at the moment. I'm going to let it flower, and then after it flowers we'll cut it back to where we want it, and then hopefully we'll get some back budding then as a result of the cutback. So yeah, that's the azalea. We'll move on to these next. We might as well. Field maples, they're all alive. Even this one right at the back here does have a green bud on it, so it is alive. If we can get some more back budding on that one, it would be nice. But this is the field maple forest. This one obviously was just planted up over the winter. When I had to take them up, it was a bit early to take them up. It was a bit cold, but they've all survived, which is good. And they'll basically just be left to grow now the entire year, and then come kind of springtime next year we will go through and cut, or maybe in the summer even we'll just give it, late summer, autumn, we'll give it a cut, and we'll shape it up a bit more ready. Because obviously with forests you want the foliage, but you don't necessarily want the branches massively protruding out from the trunk. You want it all kind of centralized to the trunk, because there's multiple trees, you don't want lots of crossing lines. This one here you haven't seen yet. I forgot to post a picture on this. This is actually another cherry that I picked up from Tesco. The same, actually, as that cherry over there. And when I picked that one up, if it would focus, there you go. But this one I picked up, and they're different varieties, even though they were labelled the same. This one has really, really small little leaves, which is really nice. This one had a really good set of flowers, white flowers. All I've done with it is given it a little prune along the bottom of the base here. It's a triple kind of weird trunked one, and then I have also taken off some of the thicker bits at the top, so our new leaders are thinner, and it adds a bit of taper to the plant. If I just stand up quick. So obviously I said about the redwoods. This one, unfortunately, I think it is alive, but it hasn't budded out yet, so we'll have to wait and see with that one. But the other ones have all survived. My Scots pine, I've got to do something with that this year. That one hasn't had much done to it, and as you can see, it's just starting to candle. I'm not very experienced with pines, so I need to do a bit of research on how to actually, when to prune and all that. So that one's come. If we move over to these larger trees, you might recognise a few of them. This one here, I believe I did a video on it, is my beech forest I got from a load of hedging plants that we had left over at work. Some of them have survived. This one, for example, is already starting to leaf out, which for a beech, I'm really surprised it's already leafing out. Lots of buds on it. If this forest can all survive, it's going to be really nice, because this is a big forest. It's not in a good pot. It's not really in the most amazing soil. It's just compost. So if it can, I'm going to just let it grow massively this year, let the roots bind up a little, and then I've got some pots that I can hopefully move it into. This one here, I took up, must have been a couple of weeks ago now, from a job site we were at. I believe it to be some form of willow. It's a really nice twin trunk, big tree. All I've done is given it a little prune on some of the branches, just to bring it in a bit. But yeah, hopefully, well, I mean, the leaves are opening up, so I think it's all right. That one also will be just left to grow all year round now, and we'll see what happens with it. Behind it, if I move out of the way, is this one here. This one is also starting to bud up. This I believe to be a hornbeam. I think it's a hornbeam, but it's got a really nice trunk. It did have a lot more foliage, as you can see, big cuts on the top, but I have taken those off because obviously I wanted to bring, it was quite a tall tree, so I wanted to bring it in. If we could get some lower branching, that would be great, but it would be interesting to see how that one turns out. Moving on, got the two Chinese elm cuttings. This one was alive, this one is sorry as well. This one here, I actually took the cutting not too long ago, so I just put some rooting hormone on and chucked it in here because I didn't have a spare pot of soil at the time. But these two that are alive will be repotted next year. I just wanted to give them another, especially this one. This one didn't do much apart from leaf up last year. It is alive, just not quite as strong. This one here was the same size as this one, and look at how much growth was on it. Absolutely loads. What I'm planning to do with this one is I'll leave it for another year, and then come next year I'm going to actually plant it in the ground, and we're going to thicken this Chinese elm up for a couple of years in the ground, and then we'll dig it up, we'll cut it right back. Obviously Chinese elms bud really well back budders, so we'll cut it right back, give it some shape, and we'll move on from there. Right, stand up before my legs die. This one here is obviously my Itagawa juniper. This one was meant to be repotted this year and still might. I think junipers can be repotted a little later in the year, luckily. But anyway, I'll look into that before I do it. But this one is meant to be repotted on the slant, I'm pretty sure. I decided, I did do a video on it with my plans for this tree. This one was going to be slanted. It's another tree that I cut a lot of foliage off, not so much off the top, mainly this branch here. I went through, when I first got this, was from Greenwoods, by the way. Really nice tree, grown for bonsai purposes, hence the great movement in the trunk. I just need a lot more back budding, especially on this branch, just to fill them out a bit, and then we'll go in with another wire and a little prune, and we'll start creating those pads. I just want to keep the tree healthy and do it in stages, so I'm not messing anything up. Okay, so this is more, well, I suppose half the bench is project trees onwards, whereas the other half and the stands, which I'll show in a minute, well, not so much. Obviously this one here, you'll realise down here is a hawthorn, and this one I dug up at a job, sprouted out really well. This is another one that will be allowed. I did 2 major cuts there and there, and it's back budded like crazy and sprouted out, so this one will be allowed to grow all year, and then come autumn we'll give it a prune ready for the following season. This here, obviously the DeSoto maple, I bought a couple of years ago, well about 3 years ago now, from Greenwoods. Slowly improving it. It did have a massive trunk on the left side, which I removed in replacement for this much smaller one, and then I've left this top shoot to try and thicken up the new leader, so we get a distinctive new leader before we prune some of the other branches out in that area, and we'll eventually create a nice little shohin tree. Obviously behind the hawthorn here is my sugar maple. I had 2 of these last year, if you remember. One of them unfortunately hasn't survived, but this one, crazy amount of buds, absolute crazy amount. Look at the size of them. What I love about sugar maples is they come out in this really bright red, a bit like this DeSoto, but it's got more of a glossy colour to it. Really great idea for a maple, and hopefully this one we can create some branch structure this year. This one I'm really not, I can't for the life of me remember what it is. Possibly a Berberis. Not doing too well, to be honest. I think it maybe is some kind of disease on it, or possibly it's the old leaves. It's got these black spots. It has lost a few leaves, a bit like this branch as well. This branch was lost not too long ago as well. It's been fine all winter, and then come spring it seems to have really not done too well. So anyway, this one will be allowed to grow as well. It's got lots of new growth on it already on these branches, so I think it will do all right. So you've got the Katsura maple here. This one was cut back last year, and it's now budding back out lovely. This one will be more or less left to grow this year as well now, so we get some branches in place, and then we'll deal next spring with the root ball on that one. Obviously up here, privet forest, loads of new growth. We'll just get some more branches, and slowly we'll try and bring that forest together, and I think it will look really good. Moving on, we'll see we've got another beech that came out of the same pot as these ones, but this is a single one that's just on its own. I thought it had really nice alternating branches, make a really good nice possible bonsai. Obviously we got the spruce up here, the sycamore maple that I'm still yet to decide if I'm going to do a chunk chop or whatever to it. I'm just going to let it grow another year to get that root ball healthy. One of my new ones, we've got another chunky field maple here, which is coming up really well, especially with this new leader. This one will have a lot of carving done at some point to get rid of most of this dead root here to bring it up, and then this leader will form hopefully a good decent amount of taper for what we can get. And obviously over in the side here we got a really odd looking hornbeam that has come out, so that's just going to also be let grow because that was only collected last winter. That will just be let to grow, and we'll see what happens. Right guys, so just quickly on the podiums, on the monkey stands, we've got the Arakawa maple in its new pot. It's come out really well this year. I've done a few bits of pinching on it because I'd like this to develop a much better branch structure inwards. I don't want to get in too leggy because it's already a relatively large tree. Obviously moving on to the next monkey stand is the recent cherry that I bought. Huge leaves on it, absolutely huge, but because it's such a big tree doesn't make it that bad. It almost needs a prune, this one. You can see it's got loads of new growth on it already. It needs a cut back to a set of leaves really, and then a lot of this inner growth also needs to be removed before it blocks the view through the tree. And then we've got This is one of the new monkey stands I put in today for the Korean hornbeam. This one had a massive cutback as well over winter. You know, this is actually the wrong front. I've put it the wrong way round. There we go, that's much better. So yeah, obviously we removed this branch here, so it's going to, hopefully this one, which it is budding out, which is great, will come back, and then we'll try and get some back budding on this, and then the top as well, and we'll see how this tree turns out. So we'll move on to the next couple. Alright guys, so this here is the trident maple. This one's come out really well after that prune we did last autumn. Can't believe it's that long ago. This one's coming out slowly. It's got buds all over it, as you can see. So this one looks much better as well at its new pod. But once this one bushes out, we'll let it grow for a bit, and then come late summer, we'll give it a little prune, probably in autumn, just before the sap stops flowing, ready for next year. And then slowly, hopefully, we'll get better and better branch development in this little sumo tree. So this is one of the other new podiums that I recently put into the garden, along with the other three behind me. And this one currently has my very new purchase of my crabapple on it. This one, oh my days, probably the best flowering plant I've honestly ever had. This one is really great. It's got absolutely tons of flowers. Bring it around this side. Sorry it's so windy today. We got a bit of that storm unfortunately at the moment, but it has got flowers all over it, and some of them haven't even opened yet, pink and white, and then some with half and half. It is honestly amazing. I think this is going to be the front. Obviously can't really decide that until we let the leaves lose all the leaves, and then come January we'll give it a good prune and a cut back to get better ramification when it comes to crab apples. I have left this one here, and this one here as possible new branches. We'll cut them off if they're not needed, but I wanted to grow them because it is quite lopsided over this side of the tree. It does need something almost in this area. Ideally a branch coming out of here would help, but we can't obviously put a branch anywhere. So we might end up having to use this one here as a lower branch pointing up, or possibly this one, but that all depends on where we put the front of the tree. But for now it's here, and obviously next year as well, I will be taking it out of this pot, because even though it was probably quite well growing in this pot, I just hate it. I hate it. The fact that it's plastic really annoys me as well. It's not sturdy, it doesn't look very nice, and I've got plenty of pots now after the repotting we've just done. So this one I really do hope that put it in a nice deepish, I'll probably put it in the old pot that the trident maple used to be in. Sorry about the background noise. I'll probably put it in the old trident maple pot because that's nice and deep, and that will probably suit the tree quite well. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I shall see you in the next one.